This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Portian Bakery. If you're located in the Portian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Portian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so before we jump into it, we have a shorter podcast this week because we both got stuff to do. But I wanted to say before we jump to the main topic that so Tara and I were climbing yesterday, and that's become such a fun new hobby, right? I really like being able to like conquer your fears and stuff because I'm so afraid of heights. So like even climbing, like she was like, "Why are your hands so wet?" I'm like, "No, I'm like deathly afraid." but then like you get over the fear. So I do like a bunch of trust falls. I'm like, "Oh, okay, now I'm just scaling this thing, right?" And then I was thinking about it. It's almost like a adult jungle gym,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like people, you know, like people get so obsessed with climbing. I was watching, Free Solo, the one with Alex Honnold, and then like Arville got into rock climbing. Like aesthetically, it looks so cool, right? When you look at it, you're like, "Oh, dude, they're climbing." But then when you really like get over the fear of it and you just start going for it, because after a while you're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna fall." And then even if you like fall, you're just like, "I'm just gonna like slowly glide down," you know? It's just more mental, right? But it was just funny because I was like, wow, we do so many things that are like ingrained in us since childhood, like baseball, golf, rock climbing, jujitsu. These are all just like activities you kind of just did as a kid and you just like manifested it in a different way. Like it's like a jungle gym. You know what I
Sure.
mean? There's really no difference. Watching people boulder, which is like climbing without a rope. I was like, okay, this is just like a jungle gym, but it's amazing, like physically, like watching the people do it. But it's just funny. It's like we kind of redo these loops, you know, in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we think we're like maturing, but really it's just like same stuff, different day. Okay, check this out. So you haven't looked at all into the UFO stuff, right? Okay, like recently.
No.
Okay, so dude, I've been on this weird synchronicity thing. So I'm planning to get like this tattoo in Vegas of like a UFO, which is like the UFO that's on Tom DeLonge's guitar. Cause like he's like, "Oh, aliens exist." And like hearing that as a kid, you're like, that's interesting, but like I don't know if there's validity to that. Maybe it's just something you're really into. You love, you know, sci-fi. And then like with 2017, when the Tic Tac came out, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, there's something here. Like the government's taking this seriously." And then you look into it, you're like, wow, it's really linked to like ancient civilizations, history. Have they been here the whole time? Stuff like that, right? And you know, I start deep diving, like from a literally just from a scientific perspective. I'm like, if there are things in our airspace or like in our atmosphere that we have no idea, and the technology is far superior to our own, do we not want to learn about this? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then I was kind of like laughing to myself last night because I was like, wait, is the UFO tattoo similar to like a cross tattoo? You know, like those religious people, it's like basically the same thing. Like you're believing in this higher power,
Mm-hmm.
but like my higher power is like UFOs. It's not that like I believe they're gods, but it's just like, oh, there's something, we're not the apex predator. Right.
Sure.
Okay. So 2024 is the year of truth, bro. Oh wait, no, sorry, I didn't get into that. I didn't finish that. So like, yeah, I like thought of like the UFO tattoo, and then like I finished a book. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of bored of reading because like nothing's interesting. But I've been following like the UFO space for a while, and there's this guy Lou Elizondo, literally the head of the friggin' program for the Pentagon. Like they put him in charge of ATIP, which is Advanced Aerial Threat Information something. These acronyms are crazy, but basically it was like an ultra top secret program within the Pentagon. that he was in charge of that dealt with UFOs. Okay. And then you're like, oh, dude, what does this guy do? He is like so credentialed that it's insane. I didn't even know to this level. Like, I just read his book. So then, so I was like, oh, yeah, there's nothing to read, whatever. And then I saw like Jeremy Corbell, because I follow him, like the UFO space, and he posted something with Lou Elizondo. I'm like, oh, Lou Elizondo. Like, yeah, I remember him. Like, what's he doing now? So I clicked on it. It's like his book dropped yesterday, like
Mhm.
the day before I saw the post. And I was like, oh my God. So I ran out to freaking Chapters, or is Indigo now, bought the book, came back, just like read it. And then I even woke up like yesterday at like 6 in the morning because I was like, I just gotta read this book. And then I spent the whole day like in tandem with work reading the book. And then I finished the book and I'm like, it's over. This is it. Like, this is the ultimate truth on UFOs. You cannot get any more um, direct to the horse's mouth than listening to the person at the head of the program.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, you have all these reporters being like, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on?" So I'm like reading them, like, "Oh, what is going on?" And then you have all these like UFO nukes. It's just like report after report from like people who have experienced UFOs in the military. So like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. Like, so there's something going on here. But the person you put in charge of the program, okay, he literally wrote a book about everything he knows, and it's not even long. It's just like 250 pages
Mhm.
because he put no fluff in there. I was like, usually with books, you're like, I can read really fast. I'm like, fluff, fluff, fluff. Oh, this is important, you know? But this one took me like a considerable amount of time because I'm like, oh, damn, this dude did not put any fluff. Like, everything was just like, here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is. You're just like, bro, you just gave all the tea, not even for like UFOs, but like how the Pentagon works, Tom DeLonge story. He literally outed. This is crazy. And I was like, Tom, you're a millionaire, bro. You should buy him the house. So there's a part in the story. I know I'm not getting to the UFO stuff yet. I'm just like giving you the backstory because
Mhm.
like I need you to know where this guy comes from, so that you're not like, maybe. But I'm like, no, no, this is the head, dude. This is like the main guy. That's why I was excited. So even in the Tom DeLonge stuff, he's like, so he left the Pentagon. The reason why he left was they were trying to disclose it. So they had the three videos: the Tic Tac, Go Fast, and the Gimbal. Okay, the ones that are like so public,
Mhm.
like everyone sees it. He even used it on the cover. So they had those. They released it internally, and then they're like, "Oh, sweet, we're gonna get like a briefing on this, right?" And then they were able to say that it's like public domain. So like the three videos they could release. And then if you release it publicly, anybody can use it. That's why I used it as his cover photo, right? It's like the NASA thing, I think. Like, you use that logo for anything.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, so, okay. So he was trying to get a senator to listen to him, like senators, and then they stonewalled him. They're like, yeah, for sure. Give it a couple months. Give it a year. And he's like, oh, I know what they're doing. They're pausing this so that I can't brief them on what I
Mhm.
know. Okay. And I feel like I'm going to be talking to Watcher in this, just like ask any questions, and then I'll be like, all right, dude, this is the answer. Because this dude just dropped it. So, okay, so then he leaves, he resigns because he's like, the only way I can get this out is if I become a civilian, because then I'm reporting on it. Because if you work for the government, you can't talk to any reporters. Came out. I was like, oh, really? That's interesting. So that's why, like, you can't get any, like, unless it's like a leak or something. But like, technically, you're not supposed to. He was saying like Edward Snowden and all these other people call them heroes, but a lot of people died in that because you just leaked the information. So you like a lot of spies died, you know.
Mhm.
And he's like, I don't consider those people heroes. He's like, I'm going to use the correct chain of command in order to change things. And his intention is, if Congress, because they run the White House or something. I know you know more about this than me. Congress is like the overseeing body or something.
Yeah, where they have the hearings.
And you're right, right, right. And they're like the final like gatekeepers of like what's going on, something like that, right? Like, they're like
Mm,
they can put the
sure.
hammer down. They're like, you guys are doing the wrong thing, right?
I it depends on what it is. It's
Okay.
contextual.
Okay, yeah, fair, fair, fair. So basically, he was saying that all the hearings can go through Congress because like this happened in the past before, right? They found out that the CIA people were like um, doing like tests on their own people. So then they brought them to Congress, and then Congress like held a hearing, and then they're like, okay, you can't test on civilians anymore, right?
Mhm.
So he's like, okay, if I just do this, Like if I do this chain of command, then like we can change things for the better because it's about people. Basically, he's like, the laws and stuff are the government's domain.
Mm-hmm.
But where we are in the universe, like science, that's ours. Like spirituality, science, like government cannot touch that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like fundamental laws of like nature. If you find out that you're not alone in the universe, your government can't keep that a secret from you because like that's not a law. That's just like a truth.
Sure.
Right? That's his belief system. And he's like, I work for the people. Like I swore an oath to human like Americans. So like I'm actually doing this for them. Right. So he was so highly credentialed and he left that position to basically have no money and then go into this thing just so he can like out the truth, right? And he even talks about like the conversation he had with his wife, and she was like pissed, and they were like talking about money, like how much. And I was like, yeah, that's the reality of the situation, bro. If you leave your thing, she's like, why don't you just stick it out for a couple of years? You can get your pension. Once you get your pension, you can go on this whole spree about like UFOs. And he's like, but if I do that every single day, I'm gonna wake up knowing I'm a liar, and you're gonna wake up knowing that I'm a liar. And she's like, all right, fine, right? So he leaves, and then Tom DeLonge, he's putting together his like to the Stars Academy thing, and then he's like, "Oh, we want to hire you," and he's like, "Oh, the salary was super low, right?" And he's like, "Tom's only stipulation is you have to go to California, right? Move there."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "All right," so he found a house, and he's like, "Okay, before I blow my entire investment on this house, is my salary secured?" And Tom was like, "Yes, swear to you, it's secured." A month later, they cut his salary in half. And then right before Christmas, they had to let Tom call them, and he's like, "We have to let you go." And he's like, "I don't blame Tom because it's a business thing. Like you ran out of money, you know?" Because do you remember that thing like a long time ago? And I was like, "Oh my god, dude, Tom's starting this thing with all these scientists, and then he's like making it publicly funded."
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that failed. So like nobody had interest, and he's back with Blink 22, making money, whatever. Um, okay, so that is why he left.
Okay.
Okay, now, so is there anything there where you're like, well, maybe a nefarious reason, or like, why did he do this, or like, why didn't you just blah blah blah, or you're chuckling?
Yeah, I looked up all. I mean, I don't have any proof, but I looked up some of his name.
Well, Elizondo,
Yeah.
yeah, he said that there's gonna be a smear campaign, all that stuff. Okay,
Sure.
but what are you saying
Well,
that
what I came across is there was no AATIP program.
that's okay? Exactly, he put that in the book because it
There
was
was
so.
an AAWSAP program.
No, that came after. So he made so they put him in ATIP, but they did reference ATIP though.
No, there was no ATIP. Is what I'm.
No, no, no. I'm saying like there's like I swear there's like Obama and Hillary Clinton. They made this joke like, oh, we call it ATIP now. It's like, oh, why do you call it ATIP? We call it OSAP. All right, so like, okay, I get
But
where you're coming
supposedly
from.
he's supposedly the background is he wasn't running any of that program. He was in
Right,
the program but not running anything.
right. That's what. Okay, so either you're going to believe your narrative, which is like obviously that's the controlled narrative that they want to put out, or you're going to believe this dude. And I'm like, all the scientists that are working on this
No,
are
no,
referencing this
yeah.
dude. So I'm like, so he said, like, yeah, they're just gonna say I didn't work here. And of course, because it's
No,
so
not that they
top
didn't
secret.
work there. Just he didn't work for ATIP.
Right. Okay. So he said that they were
Mm.
gonna say it because ATIP was so secret. He even goes in that in the beginning of the book about like how top secret it was.
Sure.
So like he was working in these like positions and how and like he was like a counterintelligence person for like Iraq. He was so credentialed, okay, super high up. And then this other dude was like, "Hey, do you want to join this program?" And he's like, "Well, what's the program?" And he's like, "Oh, it's about like an analysis of vehicles." And he's like, "Oh, cool, yeah. Like I used to work in aeronautics. Like what is like Russian?" And he's like, "No, more exotic." They're like, okay, well, how exotic? Like space? And they're like, more exotic than that. And then before getting into the program, they're like, well, if you do this, it has to be so top secret that you can't like tell anyone. So all of them that work together, they all got tattoos because they're like, okay, we're like a secret unit. We can't tell anyone, so we're just gonna like tattoo ourselves. It's like beyond black ops. So I get what you're saying, where it's like, yeah, they didn't write it down. It's like, yeah, because they didn't write it down. They're like, there's there's this thing called a skiff. So basically, it's like you have to put all your phone's technology away, and then you can go in this room, and then like, um, you can like talk about these things, right? So if they're doing that in like a skiff where it's like you can't speak about this unless like you can't speak about this and it can't get out. It's like what other projects are you working on that are so top secret?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I get what you're saying, but I'm like, okay, but if all the other people are vouching for this is how he claimed his thing. He's like, they're gonna tell you that I didn't work for it. But look at all the people saying I worked for it and I worked with them.
Who was saying that?
Um, Gary Nolan, who's the scientist, main person studying it, like MIT or something. He's getting a Nobel Prize in like biology or something. Like his passion project is UAPs.
Mhm.
His Nobel Prizes and like all that stuff is in like virology. So he's like a really high person. Okay. Chris Mellon. Did you look into that guy?
Yeah, all these names are all in there.
Okay. And they said, oh, and none of these people worked for the thing.
I don't know about Chris Mellon.
Okay. So if you have a highly credentialed person, Chris Mellon being like, hey, we're a part of ATIP. So you have all these people vouching for you, but they're like, hey, let's smear campaign Lou. But it's like all these other, it's like if there's no, it's almost like, Bob Lazar's story. They're like, "Oh, Bob didn't work there," and then they found all these people like, "Yeah, I remember Bob." And then Bob knew the freaking layout. He knew what was there. He's like, "Yeah, I just walked in here. There's a fingerprint scanner." And then when they went into the Area 51, they're like, "Dude, what? How do you know the exact layout? And how
Mhm.
do you know other people that are like, oh yeah, I remember Bob? Yeah." But they deleted all his information. They're just like, "We're just going to like not put you there."
Sure.
So do you see what I'm saying? It's like now we're dealing with this, which is like control of information. And
Mhm.
because you were so top secret, of course it's not going to be public. Like there are things out there that are just like you have to understand that we're looking at things that are public and then there are things that are like unpublic,
Mhm.
right? You agree?
Sure.
There's stuff they just don't tell. Like you can't Google everything.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have like secure servers, right?
yeah,
That's why they released only 3 videos. I'll get into all that craziness after, but like I just want to first talk about like the person before we get into like his claims
yeah, yeah.
or
Even
like what he's saying.
I came across some information on that. The star thing that you're saying about Tom DeLonge thing.
To the stars, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There, well, it hasn't happened, but there could be an SEC filings against them.
What's that?
Security of exchange, like fraud, potential fraud, and like how they raised money.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
it's
totally. Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
coming
for
from the.
the, you know, I know what you're talking about, because he was like, "Oh, we're gonna be, like, public funding,"
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, and
Yeah,
this, yeah, I think the people that were submitting their claims, but nothing's gone forward yet. That's up to the
okay.
SEC to do that. But that the people complaining are the ones who submitted money or don't not donate money. It's like,
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah,
yeah,
no, no, no. When I saw this thing, the publicly funded, I was like, "This is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life."
hmm
Well, I remember he put all those people online. I Googled it after, I'm like, "What the hell's going on?" He's like, "Oh, we're gonna be publicly funded." I'm like, "That's very difficult to do,"
hmm
you know? Um And I don't know Tom's business acumen when he said that Tom lost all his money and then, like he didn't say Tom lost all his money, but, like, they had to close down basically. I was like, "Oh, yeah, like,
yeah,
that makes
because
sense
it
to
wasn't
me."
making money.
Yeah,
Whatever they
totally,
were
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
claiming.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, Tom's had a history of this, like, Atticus clothing, um, like, all these things. Okay, we'll get off, like, Tom and, like, let's just stick to Lou, right?
Sure.
Because I didn't check out Tom's thing. I'm sure there's, like, some stuff going on. You're a freaking rock star, bro, like,
hmm
you're not, like, an accountant. I get it, you know? But, like, with Lou, so you think that Lou is lying? You think that Lou is a plant? You think like, what is it?
No, no, no. All I'm saying is it's one side says this, the other side says that.
But
That's what I'm
for
saying.
sure, but if we know how things work, like media management.
hmm
Actually, this is so fascinating too. I was watching this guy. There's a guy undercover, no, everyday spy, and he said this one thing. I was like, yeah, that's totally true. The way we are portraying, if you look at the facts, okay, if you look at the Ukraine and Russia thing, they're they're fighting over like a yard every day, and they're like, oh, but Ukraine took back some land from Russia, and then in your head you're thinking like, yeah, we're winning for democracy. They got some, but it's just a yard. It was literally just a yard. You know, people are dying for like a yard of
hmm
land.
hmm
And he was saying that like the way they paint it in Western media is like from this angle. But then if you go to Asian media, like they paint it from this angle, and then from like Russian media they paint it from this angle. He's like, you have to understand that like what we're seeing is a painting from our point of view because they need us to think in a specific way. It just is what it is. He's like a former CIA spy. He's like, if you just look at the data, it's going to push you in a different direction. Like even freaking I don't want to like negatively go into it, but like Kamala Harris, factually, nobody voted for her. Like she ran,
Mm-hmm.
nobody voted, but now we're all so stoked that she's going against her. And then I was like, is it because it's Trump or is it because of her?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, she's gonna be a great leader. Then why didn't you vote for her in the first place? See what I'm
Well,
saying?
the
So it's
voting
like,
is coming up, so
no. I mean, no. She lost to Biden, right?
in the primaries of the
Yeah, like why
few
didn't
years
she? Why
ago.
didn't she become like the lead? Why didn't she become the lead? Nobody voted for her.
Well, she didn't get enough delegates.
Okay, so that's what I mean. So it's like, okay, so her as the secondary, and then us as the public being like, yeah, good job, but it's like you realize she's just kind of like the default, right? Like if you just look at it factually,
If you look at it factually, yeah, she
right,
is the one to run if the other person steps down.
right, but
So
right,
you voted for that,
factual,
right?
factual, and then like media spin is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
If you just look at the facts, it's like the yard, you won a yard. But they're like, oh, tremendous victory for Ukraine over Russia because they were able to take back land. Then you look at it, you're like, it's literally a yard, bro.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Like marketing matters.
Sure.
Right. We agree on this.
Yeah.
Right. So like I'm saying that if you just look at things like at their base level
Mm-hmm.
without any of the marketing, we're just looking at the data,
Yeah.
right? This is what happened. And
Yeah.
for the Lou thing, this is just how they operate. It's like if you look at the data, yeah, of course, you were in a top secret program. They're always going to use that against you, saying like, um, he wasn't a part of this program. Where's the data? It's like, dude, you didn't let the data come out. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's so top secret. You can't speak about ATIP. So it's like, of course you can use that from the media perspective. It's like, oh, he wasn't a part of the program. He wasn't the head of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? See what I'm
Sure.
saying?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, what I'm saying is like,
But
I'm looking
it
at the
it
people that are
applies both
vouching.
ways, right?
Well, what do you mean?
If it wasn't part of the if it wasn't part of that at all,
Okay,
how do
right.
we verify, right?
Right. But then you have all these other people that were a part of it and know him. And they're like, yeah, he was a part of it
No, but
because they
who?
had.
Like, it depends on
Okay.
who
Well,
those
wait,
other
no,
people
no.
are, right?
These are the
Yeah.
people that were in the skiff. These are the people that were in the program that had to brief them. So, like, one
Yeah. So
Robert
who? That's what I'm
Bigelow.
saying. Yeah. Whose names were they, right?
That's what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
Robert Bigelow, um, Gary Nolan, all these people had to brief these high intelligence people in skiffs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're all like, yeah, he was in there, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, you have like the documents saying like none of this happened because you technically can't have documents on it, right? In a skiff, nothing gets recorded. That's the point of a skiff. A skiff is like literally whatever said in the skiff doesn't leave the
Mm-hmm.
skiff, right? So if you have all these scientists that were brought into the skiff to brief these heads of intelligence, like this is what's going on, like,
Sure.
and they're like, dude, he was in the room. So then, okay, so now it's just word for word. I'm going to trust the scientist that said he was in the room, the multiple scientists that said he was in the room,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like, I don't care what your data says because we know that you can't record it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, are we on the same page here? Like, or
Yeah.
do you still think he's like a liar?
Well, no, it's not that I don't think he's a liar. I don't know which was truth, right?
Okay, but like,
Like what I mean is like you would need what he needs. What we need is hard proof that these things
but the hard, okay,
exist. Right?
right. But the hard proof is that they're all saying he was there. So it's like, what more proof can you get? We can't write it down. So you can't get any like written proof.
Mm-hmm.
But you have all these people saying
No, no,
that
no.
he was the head of the
Hard proof
program.
of whatever the existence is that we're talking about.
What do you mean, the UAPs?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten into that, bro. We're just talking about him right now.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Uh, so are we good on
Yeah,
that one?
that's fine. Yeah,
All
that's
right, cool. So we're not questioning Lou. We're not like
No, no, no. I just
he's
wanted
a
to.
freaking
I just
liar.
wanted to bring out that there is that information.
He
That's all I'm
totally,
saying.
and he said that would happen, and all the UAP people said that would happen. The people that know him said that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like he put in the book, like when he was resigning, the person's like, "So you're just gonna do this like UAP thing?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, we're gonna come after you, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, but like I have to do it because
Mm-hmm.
it, of course, like there are certain things that oh, how do I put this? Uh, okay, cool. So let's say that this thing happens and it happens in a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's no recording of the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then you're like, hey, this person did this in the meeting. And then you're like, well, it's not written down. But then you have like then it becomes a word for word. But then if there was another person in the meeting, then it's like my word has more validity over their word if like six other people said that what I'm saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's no recording of the meeting. Like
Yeah, yeah.
even in Google meeting, right? Like you,
Sure, sure.
right? So it's like this happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So how else do we gauge it on like hard proof? Because we can't have hard proof unless we like AI record the transcript of our meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have well, we don't have that capability. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very like we're
No, no.
really just relying on the people that um vouch for you,
Sure.
right? Because
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
can't, right? Okay, cool. So we're gonna operate under the assumption that Lou knows exactly what he's talking about. He's just reporting on what he's seen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So so he basically outed from a scientist. They know how these things work, and it explains all the sightings. And there's a theory here. Okay, so let's just go into how these things work because that, and then like, so we are basically we know what these crafts are. We know that they're there, and we have a very strong understanding of how they work. And then even like he was talking to the scientist because they brought the scientists in and they're like, well, this is how it would work, right? And then he was saying like that's like impossible. He's like, it's not impossible, it's physics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're like, we can replicate this if we just had the power source. So remember I told you about like this the sphere inside a cube inside a sphere,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And like all these fighter jet people are seeing them hundreds
Mm-hmm.
every single day. They'll just fly out. They're on like the water and they're like, dude, what's that sphere? I just avoid it, right? There's a dude Merge podcast, which is kind of freaky because he took his podcast down. It's still on YouTube though, but I was like, why'd you take it down? It's kind of creepy. So he took down. He was like a fighter pilot, and he was seeing these every day. He was reporting on it. Nobody would listen to him, so he decided to create Merged, which is like or like a space company. Merge is the podcast. He created a space company that was like focusing on um like disclosure of this, not from like an alien perspective. He's just like flight safety. We're near missing all the time, right? And it doesn't matter how they're working. It's just like we just don't want to hit the object. Okay, so basically, the best scientists in the world have explained it like this: the reason why it's undisturbed by any atmosphere and water, flight, wind, because it's just hovering there, right? Is it creates a gravity distortion bubble around it. Sounds crazy, but basically, it's a circle that's like a shield, and that shield is made out of gravity, and you are able to have nothing touch you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's like suspended there. Whatever's inside the circle is like protected.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So how does that work? Space gravity, as we know, is affected by mass. So there's some sort of power thing that's like generating enough mass or energy to warp space around it, or warp gravity around it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Is it like a protective shield?
It's a protective shield. It's literally just a protective shield. And he has diagrams, and you're like, bro, that's crazy. So there's different versions of this, right? So what one he was saying is like, we see the cubes, right? So what is the the best maximal area structure you can make in science is a circle, right? You can capture the most
Mm-hmm.
mass. It's like triangle is not actually the most, a square is not the most. You can get the most area with a circle. Okay. And he was saying that like, okay, how do you put the biggest object you can within a circle? You would just put another circle within it, right? A circle
Okay.
within a circle, right? But then what happens if you take away the gravity distortion? It's just going to roll all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
once gravity's back in, right? So how do you mitigate for that? You squish the circle and it looks like a disc.
Mm-hmm.
That's why all UFOs look like discs,
Okay.
right? So that's one. Anything about that one? Like he just literally explained why we're like, why are they flying saucers? And then
Mm-hmm.
he's like, you can also make other shapes by combining these. So okay, you can't have a giant well, and I'll move on after this. Like any questions about that one?
No, I don't know how.
Makes total sense, right? Like does it make sense to you? Like how would you fit the maximal area of a circle? You'd put a circle, but then it would just roll, so you just squish it and it would
Mm-hmm.
become a disc.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
No, but like
I
you've
think I need
seen
to visually see that. Yeah.
no, like a circle, and then when you squish the circle, it compresses
Yeah.
into a
Yeah. Yeah.
disc, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why he's like, that's why UFOs look like discs,
Mm-hmm.
because that's like the most like efficient structure to use within a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So another thing that a lot of people see is like, why are there like triangle shaped lights in the sky? Like light, 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 right? It looks like a triangle. I see these all over. And what he's saying is you you couldn't you can make a huge circle, but that becomes super inefficient because you have all this empty space. Like let's say you have like a giant a giant triangle that you're trying to like protect against. Then you have all the extra distortion that's unneeded.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because then you'd have like, it would be like the top space and the bottom space within that circle um, would not be used. So it's like, okay, we're just distorting for no reason. It's inefficient.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make
Yeah. Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what he said was you can combine these. So
Mm-hmm.
you could have a circle within a circle within a circle within a circle within a circle, just touching each other to create a distortion bubble that's like around what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And that would explain why you see triangular shaped lights in the sky. It might not be a giant ship, it's actually just a bunch of different UAPs connected together so that they could fly in unison. And a lot of pilots have seen this. They're like, why are they all flying in like the Go Fast one, or no, the gimbal? They only tracked one, but they were like, there's hundreds behind them. They just
Mm-hmm.
only tracked the one and they released the one video. Okay. So basically that explains all the different shapes. And then he's like, you can make a cigar shape, you can make a triangle, you can make like disc, whatever. And those explain all of the shapes that we've seen throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
It's been reported throughout history that these things have been seen. Question about that one before we move on.
Sure. Yeah. No.
No, it makes all sense.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Um, I'm surprised you're not like, well, how's the gravity? But like, yeah, it makes
I
sense
mean,
though, right? Like if you crap, yeah, go ahead.
no. I mean, I don't know the. I don't know enough about it to rebuttal anything.
No, but like, is there anything you're like, uh,
Well, it's just talking about science that I don't know about.
totally, for sure. Me too. But I'm like, okay, this is making sense though. Okay. Um, so another thing that you see for UAPs, also there's like 5 observables because they're like, you can't like if your grandma's like, hey, I saw lights in the sky, it's a UAP. It's like, no, we actually need a scientific method. So they created like the 5 observables of a UAP. I don't know them off by heart, but like there's like a threshold that you need to hit. And then we're like, okay, we'll listen to you. Um, okay. So then another thing is, remember how it's always like, why are they near water?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, why are you always seeing them near water? You sure you see them in mountains, stuff like that, but like most of the cases are over water. And like the Tic Tac one is like, it looked like there was a structure coming out of the sky, coming out of the water, and then the Tic Tac was trying to land on it. And that's what made the fighter jets be like, what is that in the thing? And then track it, right? So what are you saying is hydrogen is the most abundant resource in the universe. Everything's used by hydrogen. Or most things have like
Mm-hmm.
hydrogen, but it doesn't come in a dense form. The only dense form it comes in is water,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what is hydrogen also used for? The atomic bomb. Like
Right.
we use hydrogen to make an explosion. So what he's saying is like, because hydrogen is coming in an actually dense form, all you have to do is separate the hydrogen out from the oxygen,
Yeah.
H2O,
It's H2O.
and
Yeah.
right, and then you can power something.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, a lot of these things seem to be like absorbing water, being near water, they're underwater. His question is Earth a gas station?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is this Dune, bro? Do we have the spice?
Who knows?
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it kind of makes because like what else like it's not that like this is like what's happening. It's more like these are what the scientists have reported, and he's like, this makes the most sense according to what we're observing,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't know their motives, we don't know who they are. That's the next question. We just need to know, like, hey, these things are real. And I think with Lou coming forward, it's like it's so undeniable. Dude, it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Like there you can't get more real than this. Saying like, hey, this is real, guys. You know what I'm saying? So like 2024, the year of truth. Like UAPs are real.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know their motive and we don't know who they are. That's the next question. And I'm like, I don't know how to even search for that, right? Like who's studying that,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Well, it has to be first. You have to prove the first one, right? Or like have evidence for the first one in order to go to the next question.
Oh, which is what? Like that they're real?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I feel like we've answered it. Like I don't need to read any more UAP books. I need to read like out there theories now
Mm-hmm.
because like the UAP issue is done. Like I was like reading UFO and nukes. I was reading like In Plain Sight. These are all like it's reported that, it's reported that, it's reported that, and then this book is just like, no, this is what they are,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, bro, okay, game over, right? Because now it's like how many more books do I need to read about UAPs being real? It's like
Yeah. It's not.
no,
Yeah. It's
you know
not
what I'm
about.
saying? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
dude, it's real,
yeah. It's not like having the actual piece of the craft.
dude. All right, so he has freaking photos of it,
Mm-hmm.
some like material. It's he has like a photo section in the book, and he's like, allegedly, this is it. But that's the next step for him, which is like, now the only reason why, okay, I'm really only into UAPs because of the technology. I'm like, some NHI, or maybe they're non-human intelligence or human, is creating these things
Mm-hmm.
and it's creating technology that we don't have. But if we can tap into that technology, maybe our world would be a better place.
Sure.
That's where I'm coming from at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have like a distortion field, like, and you're able to whiz across the planet, why am I waiting 5 hours to be on a plane?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Just like, let me teleport there, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, that's where I'm coming from at it. Like, I don't care about like, it's really interesting if we are like descendants of the Anunnaki or like we
Well, it
are
doesn't really help
experiment.
us. Yeah.
It
Sure.
doesn't help us. It
Cool.
doesn't help us. It's no utility.
It's all about how to make our life better, right?
Totally.
That's the
Like
main thing.
all right, hey man, you know what? You're actually engineered by the space alien race that came before you. Cool, bro. Like I still gotta pay my taxes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like unless you're gonna undo everything, but
Mm-hmm.
like I really just care about utility at this point.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. The rest, who cares? Or
Mm-hmm.
part of a galactic civilization. That's cool. Are they gonna make my life better in some way? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Totally. So we're at the same point. So like again, the UAP story is like done for me because it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can't get any more accurate than this. Um, yeah. So okay. So now let's get into the 3 videos that were released. And this was not from the book. This is from his podcast. Crazy. So like I listened to the podcast yesterday on Joe Rogan after finishing the book, and it's so funny because like Joe, so he couldn't say certain things on the podcast because he's still here's the other crazy part. He's still working for the US government, bro. The reason why he doesn't want to say things is because he has security clearance. And that security clearance um allows him to freelance for the US government. So they're like, hey man, we need you to come in and like analyze this terrorist organization for us. Okay, you have the security clearances still. Here's all the data, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? But if
Mm-hmm.
he loses that, then you lose your money. So that's why he doesn't want to like come forward and be like, hey, and then like, oh, no more security clearance. Right. So that's another thing when you're like, hey, he wasn't part of the program. Okay, so why are you letting him work for you still?
Mm-hmm.
If he's this crazy dude that doesn't know what he's talking about, why are you letting him freelance for you? Right? Kind of weird.
Sure. I guess we have to. How do we know that he is still working for them? That's the question, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, true. Sure. I mean, we can look that up. Whatever. All right. I'm not even gonna question his validity. Like to me, I see the game that they're playing, and I'm like, there's no way he's lying.
Sure.
I just can't, like, how? Unless all the scientists are in it. Freaking all the like, really everyone's lying about him not being there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're
Mhm.
too highly credentialed, these other people, to vouch for him.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So, like, I I just I'm not falling for that game, personally.
Sure.
Others can, but I just, like, it makes no sense to me, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so the 3 videos. Okay, so he was on Joe Rogan, and then Joe was asking him some questions, and it was so funny because Joe's like, "Man, you just gotta tell me the things," and he's like, no, I can't speak about that." And Joe was like, "I just gotta get you drunk." And then he was like, "Well, too bad I'm a lightweight," meaning if you give me a couple beers, I'll just start talking,
Mhm.
right? And then all of a sudden, Joe Rogan's podcast abruptly ended, and he's like, "Well, thank you for your time." And I was like, "Oh, Joe, you're gonna take her to the bar." Like, you could tell that Joe was like, "I'm done with this conversation because you're not gonna tell me the truth, and I want to know about this other thing."
Right.
Because even I was freaked out. I was like, "That's creepy. Check this out." So Joe's like, "Yeah, what about the three? Oh, wait, hold on. Why is it when you take a photo of it, it looks weird? It's because the gravity distortion bubble. He's like, it's like a koi fish in a pond. When you take a photo of like a fish in a pond, it's hard to get because there's something in the way,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And he's like, that could explain why when you're taking a cell phone picture of it, it's not capturing correctly because like there's the gravity is kind of just like distorting it slightly. Just like
Mhm.
refraction in
Sure.
like water. Makes sense. Okay, so the 3 videos. Joe's like, "Well, these 3 videos kinda suck. You don't really get to see anything." And Lou's like, "No, in the skiffs, we've been seeing hundreds of 4K resolution videos of these things." And I was like, "Bro, okay." And Joe's like, Tell me about them." And he's like, "Okay, without fully
How come they weren't
giving."
leaked?
So you can't. So, and he explains why those things were leaked too, because you have to go through. So the reason why those 3 weren't leaked, they were released.
Okay.
So he goes through the paperwork that he went through. Um, so he was in possession of those 3 videos, and he's like, "Okay, we can release 3. Choose any of the videos that you want. We can only release 3." So he's like, "Okay, if I go for the low-hanging fruit, the ugliest videos, there's a higher chance that they'll say yes." So he put the paperwork in and they're like, "Yeah, sure, you can release those 3 videos because they suck." Right? But then he couldn't come out because he wasn't working. He's working for the government, right? So he um can't speak to the news, right?
Mhm.
So that's where Tom came in. "Okay, Tom, I'm going to resign. Here are the 3 videos." And then that's why Tom's like, "The reason why those 3 videos are out is because of my company." You read the book, you're like, "Oh, yeah," because he gave them to Tom, who then released them on YouTube. Tom put them out through his company
Mhm.
because he needed a mouthpiece. Like, I can't do it myself. If I create a YouTube channel, they're like, "Who the hell's Lou Elizondo?" If I go with this rock star who's like super famous and he like creates his company, put these 3 videos out, I can have them released. Then the New York Times picked it up and was like, "Hey, this is real." Or Wall Street Journal picked it up. And then they create a whole story in 2017. And that's how this whole ball started rolling.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So the 4K videos, you have to go through clearance to get them released. But he's like, "I know all the people that were in the skiff. We're all watching these videos being like, what the hell is this?" So Joe's like, "Can you just describe one without giving it away?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. I'll give you like, I won't directly speak about what it was captured on because the thing is, you can't speak about what it was captured on or where, but you can speak about it
Mhm.
because like then it gives away
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Of
positioning.
course. Yeah.
Like, oh, Russia's like, "Oh, you're spying on us there. Okay, we'll move here." So he said that like I think it was an oil tanker or an oil rig. You know how big those things are.
Mhm.
So he saw a 4K, not just him, a bunch of people in the room saw a 4K resolution video of something bigger than the oil tanker moving extremely fast across the water.
Mhm.
What the hell is that Godzilla? Are we about to die? Like, what were we doing?
Sure. Yeah.
And Joe was like, what are we talking about here? And I was like, even myself, I'm gonna cut up the clip and post them, but it's the description, just like it sent chills down my spine. I was like, what is that? Like, is this Cloverfield? Are we like
Mhm.
screwed? You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Sure.
No, but like what the hell? It's like a giant thing
Yeah, 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 no, I understand.
moving
Yeah,
bigger than an oil tanker.
yeah.
That's not even the freakiest one. He ended the podcast on this, and that's when Joe's like, "Well, thank you for your service. I'm gonna end," because it was like we just want to hear more about this. Joe was like, "I just want to hear more about this. I don't care about the audience right now. I'm just gonna like
Mm-hmm.
bring you to a bar." So there was a frogman, like a Navy SEAL, swimming in the ocean, and I don't know if this was captured. Maybe it was captured, or it was a story. I can't remember. I'll cut up the piece. So he was a Navy SEAL swimming in this area, and then all of a sudden, something black, like pitch black, started moving under him, and it was the size of a small island. And he just
Mm-hmm.
freaked out, and he started swimming away. He's like, "Bro, I'm gonna die. What's going on?" And he's like, "What is this thing moving underneath the ocean? That's the size of an island." And then I was walking a theme this morning. I'm like, "Oh, we're ants. Look at how big this freaking building is compared to us. Like, are we just the ants of this planet?"
Yeah, yeah.
But for real though, bro, because like the size of an island moving,
Mm-hmm.
what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that like technology? Is that a being?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, we don't
You know
know.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, does that not freak you out? Like, you have the head of the program telling you these two giant stories, and I'm like, "Oh, we're screwed." Like,
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't fight back. I mean, maybe we could. Who knows? Maybe we just like nuke the whole place, and that's why they don't want to like kill us. I don't know. Um, yeah. So those two stories like really freaked me out. But yeah, he said like hundreds of crystal clear 4K footage of these things, and we're all watching them in the skiff, being like, "How do we deal with this?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So now three options. So either they're benevolent, they're ambivalent, they don't care about us, or they're malevolent, they want to destroy us. Those are the only three options,
Mm-hmm.
right? So benevolence, meaning like they want, oh yeah, you're gonna say something?
No, no, you go ahead. Yeah, I was just gonna add to that once you finish. I guess here.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah.
No, no, no. Yeah, with that definition, I think
That's a
if
human
they're
centric,
no, 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 no. If they're malevolent,
malevolent, evil. Yeah.
well, then I don't think we would be here
Totally.
now.
He said that too. He's like, I do not prescribe to this one, but I understand why they have to put that there. Because he was working in the thing and he's like, there's only three options. We have to gauge it. Like you're literally watching. Imagine you being like, this is the crazy. I don't even know how I would do this. If we're in a friggin' skiff and you're like, bro, nothing can leave this room. Cool. All right, I'm good. What's up? You watch the video and you're like, oh, we're dead. We're dead. Like, what is that giant island, bro? Or like, what is that oil tanker moving faster than we can move? The only thing we can do is nuke ourselves. We're just
Mm-hmm.
like, good game. Like, maybe that'll work, you know? Hopefully that'll work. But okay, so it's a good thing you put that up. So when they saw this, they're like, we only have three options. It's the only thing that we can move on. Right. So the first thing is benevolence. He's like, they've shown no history of being, because people are like, oh, the aliens are here to save us. No, there's no history. If they were here to save us, they would have stopped Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They would have stopped COVID. They would have stopped Ukraine war. They're not here to protect you. Okay. Malevolence. They could be preparing the battlefield for the future, right? You could be looking to take us over, right? Which is what you're saying. But he said, like that's the theory. Like they could just be prepping the battlefield for an invasion. Okay.
But if they've been here,
Yeah.
okay. If
But they've been here for thousands of years. No,
that's
totally.
what I'm
Yep.
saying.
Yep.
With
Totally.
that,
No, but
like,
he said he disagrees with this one.
yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
like, nobody freak out. Like this is 100% not the answer. But they have to put it in because even if it's a 1%
Sure,
chance,
sure.
you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
like
yeah.
calculate it.
Sure.
He's like, this is not the answer though. And every expert, so I don't want to fear monger anyone because like him too, he's like, I don't want to freak anyone out. But like they've been here for thousands of years. All the top scientists said, and even like Stephen Greer said this too. If they were here to destroy us, they could have done that a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's most likely the second option. They do not care about us.
Oh, they don't care about us yet to
Here we go.
introduce
Dun, dun,
themselves.
dun, dun. This is the next step. All right, check this out. Yeah, they don't care about us yet. And he's like, that's exactly what we would do. If we go into an island, you see a tiger, you're like, oh, what's a tiger? That's cool. Oh, it's a jellyfish. That's cool. You don't care about the jellyfish or the tiger until the jellyfish or the tiger comes towards you.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because that's exactly where the book was going. And I was like, plot twist. Are we the bad guys? Check this out. So, okay, they've been here. So let's say we're their gas station. They just need the water. Cool, man. We'll share it with you. Like, like even with that, what was that Pacific Hemisphere?
Hmm.
Google, if you're listening to this right now, Google Pacific Hemisphere, and it's basically just a blue planet. And people are like, when I saw it on Instagram, it's like, do you know what planet this is? And it's like, this is Earth, just from a different angle. I was like, wait, what a minute? Oh, like, wait a minute. Like,
Yeah,
I thought Earth was like mostly Earth, you know? And like, we know more about the moon than we know about our oceans,
deep oceans. Yeah.
deep oceans, right? And Joe Rogan brought this up too because they were talking about this about the water, and they're like, all the stuff we know about the water is more shoreline. It's
Hmm.
what we've been to, but we don't know what's in that Pacific Rim, bro. Pacific Hemisphere. Just Google Pacific Hemisphere; it'll blow your mind because you're just like, what is there? We have no idea. So we don't know what's in the deep oceans. So there might be freaking krakens. There might be giant monsters that like island sized thing, but they're restricted to the oceans, bro. They're not coming aboard like
Hmm.
onto the thing. So all right, let's say they're just a gas station for us. Okay. So here is the big plot twist of the entire book. But it's not how the book ended, but it was in the middle of the book, and I was like, okay, that's the real plot twist. So we know how this can work, right? And assuming all things in nature follow the exact same pattern. They start off as like single celled organisms. Actually, wait, before I go into that, he was saying that, do you know what the dominant life form on his planet is? So in terms of benevolence, right? They might just be a part of nature. What he's trying to stress to everyone is like, we
Hmm.
didn't know what a shark was until it was a shark. We were just like, oh, that's a monster with teeth. Like if you look at a tiger, if you look at a shark, if you look at things in the Amazon, you're like, oh, those are alien creatures. Those are monsters. No, those are literally sharks and those are literally jellyfish. And you know what I mean? Now we've created like a, a lexicon for it.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It probably went through the same thing before when we didn't know anything about sharks, and someone was like got
Exactly.
bitten, and then you had to hunt and get the shark in order to prove that a shark actually
It-
existed.
that's what he's trying to say. He's like, this is all nature. We're just freaking out because we don't know what it is yet. You
Hmm.
know, it's unexplained.
Hmm.
You know, so okay. With that, so what is the most
So there, what
common?
is he saying? There's nothing to fear.
Yeah, nothing to fear.
Okay.
Right. And just like it's literally like it hasn't disturbed us for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's been watching us. It's he's had stories about like it will display its power in front of us.
Hmm.
So like a jet engine will be like a fighter jet will be flying and then it'll fly beside and it'll do like a maneuver and it'll fly away. And it's almost like the pilot was like it was almost taunting me.
Hmm.
Like, oh, you think you're fast? Check us out. But don't we do that to nature all the time? Like, bro, we like mess
Hmm.
around with nature all the time. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and one other thing that he was saying as well, like people who've been injured by this, um, most likely they're not trying to hurt you. It's like if you stand behind a jet engine, you're gonna get burned. So
Hmm.
we just don't know what this thing is. So we're like interacting, like, what is that? What is that? I'm like, oh, dude, I got killed by this UFO. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
it's the same
it
thing with
wasn't trying,
it's the
bro.
same thing with sharks. Sharks not actually trying
It,
to kill you. It's just
yeah,
doesn't have hands to figure out what you are.
perfect example. Perfect example. You're right. You're right. Like a shark. It's like it's just checking you out. It's like, what is that thing? And
Hmm.
you're like, dude, I'm not trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even hunting you.
Yeah.
Nothing's hunting. So this is where we're at. And this is what I totally agree with. It's just like if there is this thing there, and if it was gonna kill us, if it was gonna invade, why didn't you do that sooner?
Hmm.
Okay. So Joe and a lot of people, even Lou, is like, this could just be like the natural evolution of, and they started getting to like AI, like what's coming next, right? I can't even venture there. That's the next question. And I have to now look into Neuralink because like you hear about that Neuralink dude that can play Counter-Strike with his mind?
I know they've been doing stuff. I don't know if I heard about that one.
It just came out, bro. So I haven't listened to it yet, but the first person who was cured, quote unquote, by Neuralink was a guest on Joe Rogan's podcast, and then they just released. There's another dude who like he can like play video games with his mind now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and one thing that they were saying is like the UAPs, the beings that were on there, they could interface with. During the 1970s, they're like they could interface with these objects with their thought, and then they thought it was magic. They're like, oh, whatever. But now we call that Neuralink,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what Joe Rogan and Lou Elizondo are saying. Like, it looks like magic because you don't know how it works, but like, oh, there's just a chip in my brain that allows me
Sure.
to like speak to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's like my next research project. Like, what is this next thing that we're evolving into? And what he was saying is that Joe Rogan's theory is pretty good. So like he's always been saying that we are the caterpillar that turned into a butterfly. We are the caterpillar. So the next evolution could be some amalgamation between AI and human.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Lou said too. He's like, if you look at evolution, we think of it like a slow process, right? But you can also make yourself extinct, not in a bad way, not like, oh, all of a sudden we're dead and like AI is going to take over. It's like there was an old human and there's a new human.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we start implanting Neuralink into our brains, we're a different type of human, bro.
Yeah. 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 Of course.
Like actually, this is crazy. So Tara made this joke because like I'm 35 now, and she was like, she saw this meme about um oh, I'm 35 and I can hardly like move or something like that. Like it's like an old joke, right? And I was like, oh, that's like boomer 35.
Mm-hmm.
Like our parents at 35 were pretty old. You know what I mean? Like they were settled down, whatever, whatever. They were inactive, whatever. And like, oh, they had kids, whatever. And because I'm like going to the rock climbing place, I'm like, I move like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
35, not quote unquote 35. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, that's a new human, bro. I extincted, I made extinct the boomer,
Mm-hmm.
and the millennial 35 is totally different now. Look at that, tattoos. This is not even a thing before.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's more of like an evolutionary process that Lou's talking about. We're not going to like kill ourselves, but like the old us will be dead and the new us will be like some amalgamation of a new thing.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, so Joe's like, maybe this is just the natural process of things. And maybe these UAPs are just tech that like again, there's theories, this is not founded. That's like will be created in the future and they need us because like art is an emotion based thing. And once you become too mechanic, you're thinking about something. What do you think about it?
Could it be tech left behind from the ancients?
Yes, that is all. Oh, I didn't even get into that, bro. So he started talking about ancient. Okay, I love that you said that. So first, Bob Lazar said that they like all these. So they have nine. He calls them the sport model. The nine. What do you call that? Nine discs. The
Yeah.
traditional
Yeah. Yeah.
UFO
Sure.
looking thing, the
Yeah.
disc, right? He said there's nine of them. He was working on one of the nine. And Joe Rogan, if you go back and listen to that podcast, he's like, where did you find these? Or did they crash? Whatever. He's like, no, archaeological digs. And I was like, oh, they've been here for a while then,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it could be tech left over from the ancients. You're right. And maybe that's where Billy Carson comes in. Anunnaki. I wrote this down, bro, on the book. I'm like Anunnaki because he doesn't go into it because again, there's no evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole book is just UAPs are real. Done. Now, what are they? Where are they? He did not put any of that in there. He just said that he started researching like he was kind of freaking out because like one of the this is interesting too. One of the senators was like, you're doing the devil's work. And he's like, devil. And I've heard this a lot too. They're like, UAPs are demons.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people were like, you're doing God's work because you're letting this truth come out. And then I started thinking, like, God and the devil, bro, are they real? And then they were saying, like, have you read your Bible to him? And he was like, what the hell are you saying to me, bro? Why are you letting spirituality enter into this scientific thing? We're just looking at this scientifically. And the person's like, yeah, it's in the Bible, right? And then he was like, he started deep diving into the occult and like histories, ancient civilization. He's like, the Vimanas you were talking about, and they're all there. The Nephilim. So he brought this up, Ezekiel. I think Kendrick Lamar is a big believer in Anunnaki. He never said, I Googled it, didn't come out about anything, but he's always talking about the book of Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
And the book of Enoch is about an alien abduction. They removed it from the Bible. It's about in that thing. And then I haven't read it yet because I don't have a hands on the copy. Maybe I'll try and find it. But he brought the book of Enoch up in his book. And he was saying that like the Nephilim. So basically, God sent angels down who mated with human women.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's just swap God for alien race who brought down aliens who mated with human beings.
Isn't that what the Greek mythology is all about too?
Exactly, bro. And that exactly they've been telling us the whole time. They've just been incorrect. It's not gods, it's aliens, bro. And that's what the Anunnaki story is, bro. If you look at Billy Carson, he's like, all of these myths are just talking about aliens. Just swap God for alien, and you're like, this makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, an alien race would come and be like, oh, those women are hot. Let me just mate with them. If they look kind of like us, like, wouldn't you do it? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally the God story. Like when you're like, isn't that the Greeks? Like, yes. So maybe these are ancient technologies.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Maybe. Um, okay. Damn, I went so sidetracked on that one, but like, all right, where was I gonna go? Um, what was the last thing I talked about? Technology. Um,
But yeah, you went into the senators and the religion thing.
and then oh yeah, all right, well, let's talk about that one. So then I started thinking like this is freaking me out because I'm like, a lot of people are talking about God and the devil. And then I was like, is that an allegory? I don't think I believe in the God and the devil. It's making me think like, should I go back to church, bro? Like, what are we talking about here? But I'm like, it feels more like an allegory. Like you don't know how to explain it, but you know people with demons, bro. We say it all. Dude, that guy's got demons, right? You're drinking away your demons. So I think they're more like mental demons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they're not like real demons, but you know people that are like energy vampires. You're like, dude, being with them is just like sucking my energy and like they're so negative and like there are like things
Mm-hmm.
out there. Like I wouldn't call them like real demons.
I think you just have to
Uh,
understand those stories as the science of the time, trying to understand certain
yeah,
people how
that's what
they.
he was saying too. Yeah, he's like myth is just science, bro. Which is what we've been saying the whole time. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
just didn't know what it was. Now we're calling it this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there are things out there. I won't give away this who this person is, but they went to a psychic. If you listen to the story, you know exactly who they are. It's funny. So like before then, they were kind of like awkward. Not awkward, but they were like standoffish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then they went to a psychic, and then the psychic was like, oh, you have a demon on you. First of all, what the hell are you talking about, bro? A goddamn demon? And it's like, all right, so we're gonna get this demon off you. Demon went off. All of a sudden, this person changed into like the nicest person. I personally like talking to them. They're always so fun. But I remember prior to the demon being there, and I was like, oh, I never talk to this person. They're so like standoffish. They never want to engage. But now, like, if I see this person, I'm like, hey, what's up? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can actually like speak to you on a human to human level. Like the demon's gone. Not saying there's a real demon, but the psychic was like, there's demon. I'm like, I feel like it's like a psychological demon, like an energy demon,
Sure.
not like a demon,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because people did like when he was like, if I don't out this truth, you're gonna know I'm a liar. I'm gonna know I'm a liar. So, boom, you got a demon now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, okay. I was so planning to tie this all in together. Like, mm, okay, where we are, where we're going. Yeah. I guess that's really just it. Just they are here. We don't know what they are, but there's no. Oh, here we go. Plot twist. Thank you. It came back to my brain. Okay, we'll end off on this plot twist. Okay, so are we the bad people? So the natural evolution. This is how I got sidetracked. The natural evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, these things will happen throughout space. You start as a single cell. Oh wait, I didn't answer that question.
Right.
What is the most commonly seen thing in our Earth? What's the top life form?
Top life form.
Yeah, we think it's humans. Not. We think it's like
No, like you mean able to survive a lot of things and still continue living, like
sure. Yeah,
roaches
they're like okay, cool. So prior to this,
or octopus.
no, no, no. All right, all right.
Okay.
So it's either animal or plant. That's what they believed
Oh, okay.
was on Earth, right? And then they're like, oh, fungus.
Mm-hmm.
And only recently did they figure out microbiomes. Germs are the
Mm.
most
Okay,
prevalent thing.
right.
You can actually find them in like the bottom of the ice. They will
Yeah.
survive. So we think we're the top predator, but it's like, no, if you look at the microscopic level, actually our whole body has microbiomes inside of us. So then you're seeing like all these friggin', giant things that are moving outside of the norm in the water. And you're like, bro, how's this happening? It's like, that's just one piece of nature. But do you know that that's not even the most prevalent thing? It's like germs. You're like, oh, mind blow. You know what I'm saying? It's just we freak out because we don't know what that thing is. Again, like sharks, you don't know what it is. Okay. So if this is the natural evolution of things, and we've already figured out scientifically how to do this, and the only way to warp space and time is through an energy source that's powerful enough. And we have split the atom using hydrogen,
Hmm.
and it seems like that they're using our Earth as a gas station to like collect water, basically like Spice and Dune. You just need it so that you can like fly around. If that's what's going on, like we need to get our cut in the global galactic scale. We need more money on this thing because why are we in poverty if like we're the
Sure.
surplus? Although if you look at Cobalt Red, they're also in poverty. Like mining for cobalt, like they're in poverty, and then those people are like living like kings. Us, literally us, because we're using the technology while they're starving. Okay, so if you figure out how to utilize energy in this way, you are one step away because we created CERN, and he was talking about this. CERN is trying to create a black hole, aka utilize gravity.
Hmm.
And if we figure out how to utilize gravity, we can travel like them. And what happens if we travel like them and we, because of our history, try and take over them, colonize them, go
Hmm.
to war with them?
Hmm.
So he was saying it could most likely be like this. I know you're gonna say something.
No, no.
Okay. It can most likely be like this. When you go to the zoo, you see an ape. Okay. You're like, oh, that's a cool ape, but there's a glass, never gonna get out. All of a sudden, the ape breaks out of the zoo prison that it's in and it finds a shotgun. And then you're like, is the ape gonna show up at my door with a shotgun? So you gotta think of it like that.
Hmm.
It's like, are we the ape with the shotgun that's gonna show up at the door? And I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense. We do not we are like very warlike as a species. Would you agree? When have we not conquered anything? Who's the
Not.
most
It's
military, like biggest military? America. Want
Yeah,
to
yeah. I'm
protect
not. I'm not
peace.
saying that. I'm not saying that we're not a war thing.
And he's like, that could be why they picked up their observations of us. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. These monkeys are figuring out how to
Hmm.
utilize our technology. Well, they've hit that point in their evolutionary sphere. We need to pay attention now. Not that
Hmm.
they're going to go to war with us because they would have done that a long time ago. They're just like, what the hell are these monkeys doing?
Hmm.
And we have a warlike nature about us, dude. There's no war, and I'm going to jujitsu, bro. Like I'm
Hmm.
trying to kill people out here. Like why? But it's just innate. There's a warlike mentality. You go to a meeting, it's like a war. You try and get something done, it's like a war. Everything is aggro.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, there's that. And then it made me think about what they've all been saying, and we'll end with this. Um, every single time I listen to these things, they always talk about peace and love. Like they're trying to tell you about love. Jesus came down, trying to tell you about love. Buddha, they think that these are like deities, aka aliens, demigods, half alien, half human, came down to try and teach you a lesson. There's like perennial wisdom about like love and peace, talking about God and the devil, right? What if, and like if you listen, like somebody asked Lou on a very old podcast and they stayed quiet. They're like, what can we do about this UFO thing? He's like, just love your family, love your kids. And I was like, that's weird. Like, what? Why would you do that? Right. And then Tom DeLonge, he's like, Mark had cancer. So we started the band again. And our band's mission is to just spread as much peace, positivity, and love throughout the world as we can. So I'm like, okay, all these people are believing in UFOs. Why do you also believe in peace and love?
Hmm.
Is it because that's the higher state of consciousness? that we should achieve before venturing out into our known universe. Then we won't become like the monkey at the door. We'll just be like, hey, we have peace. Hey, we're joining the Galactic Federation, guys. What's up?
Mm-hmm.
We're here to enjoy our stuff, bro. No one's suffering, bro. But what's the first step of that? Figuring out technology, which is what I'm obsessed with. And if you figure out how to power that technology and you tap into 0 point energy, which is what Stephen Greer was talking about, you obliterate any resource deficit in this world. Why do we go to war? Resources.
Mm-hmm.
We have people in power and people not in power because of resources.
Yeah.
If you had abundant energy, the Tara yesterday was like, why are you so obsessed with this? I'm like, I don't care about anything except for the tech. Because if you can, because she's like, why do you care about this but not starving children? I'm like, this is the solution for starving children. Because if you create infinite energy, you can have a greenhouse that creates infinite food. Hey, give it to the starving children, bro. Who cares about like crossing borders, man? And we can all live in harmony. We can have a utopia.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a utopia, then it's like, then you're not the warring species that flies out into the universe and tries to conquer everything.
Sure. Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's the solution. I think we need to just like peace, love, positivity. If the entire world gets on that sphere, we figure out 0 point energy. We all give each other infinite resources. We're not going to war. Cool, man. Let's go into space now. And until we figure that out, we are in danger of hurting other people. That's really my belief, which is like if we figure out how to galactically star jump through gravity and we're just visiting these planets and we're like, hey, you have a cool resource that I want. Or we're gonna come back with our horde of people. It's literally Dune, bro. Remember the war planet
Yeah.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
Dune? We
Yeah.
could be the war planet,
Mm-hmm.
or like even freaking what is that? But here's the creepy part. So Star Wars, the destroyer. So if you look into the Anunnaki story, that's how it all began. There was something that could destroy planets, and there was a civilization that was running away from this warring civilization, and they came to Earth, and that's what the Anunnaki story is. So Star Wars is the Anunnaki story, but just like painted in a
Mm-hmm.
like Hollywood version, and that's all I got. What do you think? Think I'm crazy?
No. No. No.
I think we cracked the code, bro. Like here it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
you cannot like UAPs are real. It's undeniable. This book came out. I I cannot even question it. Why would I listen to anyone else? The dude in charge of the program literally is explaining everything to us in this book. It's in the book. Just read the book. Um, or check out the podcast, but he doesn't go as much about the book in the podcast. And just like let's evolve consciously into like a better species so that we can just like live in goodness and not have the devils around us. Like he's like, you're doing the devil's work. It's like maybe there are devils, maybe there are gods, but like good and evil, but like we don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just move towards like love and light. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. I agree with that message.
All right, Vish. Starseed. You fucking knew, bro, in the beginning. I swore, sorry. But like you knew in the beginning. We were kids. You're like, hey man, star seeds were these beings that like spiritual souls from different like galaxies. And we're like, what are you talking about, Vish? Superman's real. Like, what are you saying, bro?
Mm.
And then Tom DeLonge with his like documentary Aliens Exist. I'm like, what are you guys saying? And then you just read it. You're like, this was the wool covered in front of our eyes the whole time.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. That's all. Till next week. Peace, love, positivity, bro.
Yeah.
That's all we need. That's all we need. And then we can join our space brothers and sisters. Or thems, theys, thems. Who knows? Maybe they don't have genders there. I don't know.
True. Yeah. They all
Although
have
they
their
did sleep with
beliefs.
our human women, so maybe there is something to that.
They're maybe a type of alien.
Dude, he kind of mentioned that. Last thing, the Nordics. So like the Nordics and the Greys, you hear that all the time. So they're
True.
like, oh, they're walking around us, right? And when he mentioned that, he didn't say it was real. He's just like, this is in the reporting. Nordics and Greys keep coming up. Nordics are like white presenting, like basically Thors.
Mm-hmm.
Walk around like Thors. So
Mm-hmm.
they could walk around and be like, oh, dude, I'm watching a reality TV show with Tara right now and he looks like Thor. I'm like, could be an
Mm-hmm.
alien. Yeah. Wouldn't you, as an alien, wouldn't you be like, I'm gonna get on this goddamn game show, bro? When
Yeah,
you just
yeah,
have
yeah.
fun, wouldn't you just have fun? If I was an alien, I'd be like, you guys got movies and stuff? Like, what? You guys, I was at the spa, Nordic spa, and then I was like, dude, if I was an alien, I'd come to the spa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wouldn't you enjoy our stuff too?
I mean, yeah, sure, maybe. I don't know what they're into.
No, I'm just saying, like, if I was an alien, I'd be like, if I went to their planet and I was like, well, you guys
Well,
got
it's
video
like
games,
it's. I
bro.
guess it's more like if we go to a country, you want to experience the country. So you're coming to the
Thank you.
Earthling planet.
They're just traveling, bro. As well, same we do. Like, hey man, you guys got like Mexican food? I'm going to Mexico. Do you got Mexican food? Let me try this Mexican food.
Mm-hmm.
You got a water slide? Oh, I'm trying. Like what we
Yeah,
would do that too, bro.
yeah,
And it's wrong of us to assume that nature doesn't follow patterns. So I'm with Joe on this one. I really think that we are just a natural evolution of what happens elsewhere in the universe.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bacteria becomes sentient, becomes us. We want to explore the universe, and then it's a pattern that just repeats. And I think we're coming to that age where it's like, oh, we are in this pattern. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, our last thing, it actually circles back to what I was saying in the beginning about rock climbing. It's like, why am I rock climbing? It's like a jungle gym, but for adults.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, why am I still playing this game? It's like, because all nature just wants to have fun. Right? Dolphins will bite the freaking
Pufferfish.
pufferfish in order to get high, bro.
Yeah.
It's like all nature is just looking to have fun and like not mess with one another. It's like, I saw this video of a cat and a fox and they were like beefing, but
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want to fight because like, is one of us going to die, bro? So they were just like waiting for the other one to back down. And then that was it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like, but our nature is like, let's go conquer, let's go kill. So if you have these giant things in the ocean that are like just chilling, it's like, hey man, just chill over there. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good mentality. Because I was freaking out. I was like tripping so hard and I was kind of worried. I was like, are these demons? Are we about to die? What are we going to and have this podcast with you? I'm like, all right, we both agree. It's a good thing. Positivity, love,
Yeah, but
life.
I think if he's saying that it's nothing to fear, then I don't think we should be fearing anything.
I know, but like, again, my brain just jumped there. Like when I was listening to this last
Yeah,
night,
but
when I,
this is the guy who used, who's seen all these videos and everything, and he's saying nothing to fear.
facts, but still, just like Joe,
No, but
when he
he's
said
the
a
one.
giant, I'm like, a giant thing. I'm like,
Yeah, but he's emphasizing that thing. But again,
yeah,
it's
true,
coming
true,
from
true.
the person. If you're saying he saw all these things and he's saying nothing, there's nothing to fear. I think that's the word that we should be listening to.
Facts. That's true too. You're right. You're right. Because he's like, I don't want to spread a panic. Like,
Because we're now adding our own things. We've never
yeah,
seen it. He's seen
facts,
it,
facts, facts,
right?
facts. That's true. That's true. That's true. You're right. You're right. But I was also a little elevated last night, so I was like, listening to this, like, what the heck,
Well,
bro?
that would make sense.
You know, so I was like, I had to listen to it again this morning and be like, all right, sober, listen to it.
Did I hear
Like,
this correctly?
yeah, I know. It still freaked me out sober, but like, ooh, it's like kind of
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
freaky,
yeah.
you
Those
know,
thoughts
like,
are already in there, though, right? So that.
because I was like Cloverfield. No, but that's what they were saying. Hollywood messed us up, bro. I just watched the Alien movie. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I wanted to watch it. Is it good?
it's okay.
All right.
She's doing the most, bro. Like,
Huh?
she's doing the most. You could have killed me at scene one, bro. We didn't need to try and survive that hard.
Mm,
Like, if you see, you'll see what I mean. Like, she's
yeah,
living
yeah.
in poverty. It's like,
But so it's a horror movie anyway. So
right, exactly. So, like, you see these horror movies. That's what Tom wanted to do. He wanted to make these positive alien movies, not these negative ones, because Hollywood is making us
I
fear
think, but
aliens.
there are positive alien movies. I think
No, there are. Yeah, there are
so.
for sure. There are. But like,
Like Arrival was a really good one.
yeah, exactly. They just want to help us, bro.
Yeah.
But it was kind of freaky at the beginning, though.
Yeah, but that's how we're always going to be freaking out because
You're
that's
right.
the thing. But
It's the unknown. Yeah.
yeah,
But they wanted to pass off the knowledge onto the girl so that she could make her life better. So you're right. Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, in Time Loops, that's the movie that they brought up. They're like, Arrival is like one of the best movies. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I know it took like extra amount of your
That's fine.
time, but yeah, dope. All right. I'm less scared of this after talking to you about it. All right. Till next week. Hopefully I read something more interesting than aliens because this is the apex of what I was looking for. 2024 year of truth, man. This is it. Like if you want to know that aliens are real, read the book and listen to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Till next week. Titties fish.
Peace.
Bye. All right, hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.